I have just one simple discussion action item. Recently, there was an article that Hawthorne has 16% unemployment, and my concerns are a little bit greater than a badge. I think we have to find a way to create more business for the community. We have to find a way to bring in new development to the community and create jobs. There's several projects that are basically stalled because the developers can't pay the development impact fees. And I know that Torrance gave, I was told recently that Torrance gave a company $200,000 to stay in the city and not leave. Carson bought a dealership's property and is leasing it back. We need to continue, as we've done in the past 2 years, create our own stimulus program. And I've agendized tonight the thinking out of the box. What can we do to help our community? What can we do to help create local jobs? And I came up with this idea of temporary suspension of the development impact fees, and I spoke with the city manager to see what we would lose, how that money could be regenerated, and this basically comes down to a win-win. We received a memo, and we could get 3 or 4 projects rolling now if the developers didn't have to pay the development impact fees. I spoke to the superintendent at one of the school districts, and he agreed. He goes, whatever we can do to help, bring some kind of economy in our city, that he was interested. I didn't know that the soup was coming. I would have asked him tonight. But we could create jobs, create revenue, and also the selling of material. And if material sells, it means people are working. And we keep hearing unemployment is up. And Hawthorne hit 16%. I think, what was it, Inglewood, was it 15? Gardena, 15? And we have the opportunity to create some jobs and some revenue. So this is a no-brainer. I'm asking my colleagues to support this suspension development impact fee so we can get some life. And one of the projects is on the corner of Imperial and Hawthorne Boulevard. And this gentleman is still interested in building it's like a little mall area, Jag. And then we have some of the other developments. So for me, I'm looking at the bigger picture, trying to find a way to bring something stronger to the community. And I'm hoping my colleagues will support me on this. And I would like to make a motion, temporary suspension of development impact fees.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion?
Discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Juarez?
Oh, go ahead.
Let's see. Jag, I called you earlier about the questions that I had. Did you get those answers?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Councilmember, you had asked me what fees we would be waived, so to speak, and I had listed 3 projects on the staff report. First project was the 17,000 square foot retail development at the site of the former Colorado Auto Salvage. The development impact fees on that project will be $316,000. The next project was a 20,000 square foot retail development on the southwest corner of Imperial and Inglewood. The impact fees on that will be $354,000. And the third project I listed was the almost 3,000 square foot retail development at the El Segundo Plaza. The impact fees on that project is $46,000. So because of these fees, those 3 projects have come to a grinding halt. So those are the fees.
Okay.
May I ask you, since it was contemplated to put those fees in our budget upcoming, are those the numbers that you just read that are coming out and is going to affect our 09 and 10 budget?
Actually, for the fiscal year 2009-10, we had budgeted something like $200,000 in development impact fees revenues, because at that time we really didn't know if these projects were going to go ahead. It was very likely it wasn't going to go ahead, so we budgeted only $200,000 in revenues.
So it's a big jump from what we're going to not charge versus what you put in the budget, right?
Yes.
It's a big
Right.
chunk of money.
Right, but
Okay.
that being said, the way this memo is written is we're not going to waive any fees. We're going to kind of backfill it with general fund monies.
Okay.
So the development impact fee fund will generate revenues via the general fund,
So
as opposed to via from developers.
So instead of the developer paying for the impacts to our community, the general fund pays for the impacts from the developer's project. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
And that money will itself get reinvested in the infrastructure, for example, in streets and sewer and parks and whatnot.
That makes sense.
Now, you didn't mention Lee Homes. How much would Lee Homes pay us in development fees, since housing does impact cost?
You know, I have to admit, I didn't work that out.
How many homes in Lee?
176 homes,
At 8,000 apiece?
something like that.
Okay, 176 times. So that's $1.4 million.
Okay.
So 1.4 plus 6, it's about $2 million in fees we're talking about waiving.
Again, you know, as I said in my staff report, I think Jeff Lee has bigger issues than development impact fees. He has issues with financing, so development impact fees is one of the smaller issues that he has.
Now, Mr. Mayor, you've stood up here and said no fee waivers, but you were talking about waiving $2 million in fees that the city rightly collects.
Well, are you collecting them now?
Well, I don't believe these developers are not developing things because of our fees. All cities have development fees.
Okay, hang on a second.
there's-
Jag, what did all of these people tell you? Why they're not developing and we're at a dead halt in our city?
Cost them
I have to
too
admit, I haven't spoken to all of these gentlemen, but the ones I've spoken to had said that they basically cannot go forward with these projects because of these fees. I've spoken to them as well as Mr. Rayshon.
I just find that hard to believe because that's a cost of doing business. Now, in 2006, we went out and studied the fees that development poses on the city.
Sure.
And so these are legitimate fees that we can charge a developer.
Correct.
So to me, I can't see waiving the fees. It's a cost of doing business as a developer in the city. And it's $2 million in fees we're talking about waiving right here.
Gary, were you just here when you had 5 different dealers telling you? 2006, we were in a very healthy economy. America was moving forward. There wasn't 16% unemployment. The problem is when you have no vision, a community will perish. 2006, when we did this development impact fee, we were booming. There was a lot of development. There was a lot of jobs, the housing industry. What we're trying to do now is our own stimulus, just like the President of the United States did by giving money to the banks. He gave money to the dealers. We have 2 choices here, and it's simple. You can vote for it or against it. But what you're going to do is create local jobs. And as the city manager said, it's really not going to affect us because we'll get zero. Right now, it's 0 of 0 is nothing. We have an opportunity to get materials brought into our city. We're able to bring jobs to the community that are suffering. You know how many people I run into in a day saying, can you help me find a job? I need a job. Do you have anything? Talking to contractors that are unemployed right now. So I think if Torrance was able to do this and Carson, listen, we can vote against this, but at least come up with some kind of strong ideas that will help rebuild our community. And it's all about jobs. Right now, we have people that are losing their homes. I just talked to another lady. She lived on 132nd and Doty. She just lost her home after living there 17 years.
But you want to waive $2 million in fees? Now, that if we waive the $2 million in fees, that comes out of the reserve. Is that correct?
The plan is the general fund will backfill these fees that have so-called waived.
Right.
So it's kind of from taking money from one hand and giving it to the other.
But it's given the developers a free ride of the $2 million.
Yeah, but excuse me for intruding, but the result is, as the mayor said, it invites people to come in and really are saving a lot of money. And if they build something, there are jobs.
Well,
I
can
mean,
we-
it's not like the president says we're going to get you jobs and we've lost thousands and thousands of jobs. This is a positive thing. We have lights on some of the buildings and the properties that we own. So they backed off because they couldn't afford those fees.
I don't buy that. I think they can't get credit. They can't get a loan. Man, to build these type of businesses right is why they're not building, not the fees, which
Jack?
are reasonable fees.
I think
Jag, do you think 2 out of these 4 would start building if they knew the city was reaching out to help them create a stimulus?
2 for sure. I know the development at Colorado Auto Salvage. He came to Grinding Hall specifically because of this, as well as the small development at El Segundo Plaza that's owned by Jerry Demgochin. He specifically said he stopped because of the fees. I know last time I spoke to both these gentlemen, they will build if these fees weren't around.
Well, see, it's almost blackmail.